Does engagement in your church feel random right now? Like, for instance, some Sundays attendance just pops, and then other weeks it just dips, and you have no idea why. I mean, groups kick off with excitement and then just seem to stall halfway through the semester. Maybe volunteers show up full of energy one month and then just quietly disappear the next. Giving, it rises for a moment and then it falls off for weeks at a time, and it doesn't make any sense. And then inviting, I mean, yeah, people invite, it happens, but when someone remembers to, I mean, whether the metrics are up or down, right, you kind of feel the pressure of engagement every single week. And that pressure doesn't just affect ministry, man, it affects confidence, it affects decision making, it affects how you walk into a Sunday. But here's a reality that I just think most pastors forget. Engagement is never random. And more importantly, it's not supposed to be. If it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to be supported. That's how engagement works best. Engagement, I mean, it is always the results of intentional systems, not pastoral passion or even a compelling vision by itself. And once you understand that, everything around engagement in your church can begin to change. So today, in this episode, I want to walk through 5 engagement systems that every intentional church builds, okay? 5 places where clarity can remove pressure, where more support can create some momentum, and of course, how intentionality produces predictability. So let's look at all of these for a minute. 5 different places of engagement. The first engagement is attendance. Now, if you've been studying or working around the word engagement at church for a while, you may not have had attendance as a part of it, but a lot of things that engagement requires is predicated on attendance. If people are showing up once a month or less, it's going to be really challenging to engage them in other things like groups, definitely serving, definitely inviting. They can't do that either. The only thing they could really do without showing up is give. However, we have found the less people show up, the less apt they are to join you in generosity. So attendance is something that is a part of an engagement pathway. And we really want to help make it more predictably hopeful and helpful. That's how attendance can grow a little more consistent. So think of it this way. When people return, people always will return to what is hopeful and helpful and relational. Now, I am not in any way suggesting that we make church more consumeristic. We need to do less of that. But offering something that is hopeful in Christ, that's helpful or profitable for their life, and relationally connected. Now, when I say connected, it's connected to God, connected to themselves, and connected to others. So it's a big connection, okay? Think of it this way. If Sundays feel different every week, or if the environment is inconsistent, if the content is, the primary offering, content's a commodity today. It's not the king. If information is what's dominating your service, listen, attendance is going to become very optional for most people. Intentional churches build experiences around what people need. So they leverage things like a clear flow, a steady rhythm, connection opportunities, and a reason to return next week. Here's a very simple idea that can add some predictability and consistency. One of the easiest ways to increase attendance is a simple, next week teaser. And I don't just mean, though, at the end of your service, right? We need to give people a reason to look ahead and anticipate what's pending, not just look back and, be grateful for what we just did. You can do this so many ways. Of course, at the end of a service you can, but that's not the only way, and it might even not be the most consistent way to reach everyone. If people are attending one time a month, right, you're getting 25% of your people. So what if you used your podcast, your emails, your social channels to create connection and interest for where we're heading next Sunday? And what if we worked words like hopeful and helpful and connection into those conversations a little bit more? Attendance can go up if people feel, and again, this sounds consumeristic, but I don't mean it that way. if they feel that it will benefit them. Now, sometimes a hard truth is the biggest benefit we can offer them. So consumerism, okay, when we think about it, is about getting something that makes my life easier, makes my life better. Granted, the truth is going to eventually make life better, but it doesn't always feel that way in the beginning. So we're not creating a consumeristic conversation here. We're talking about how to increase a person's desire to be with you on Sunday because they're getting truth, they're getting real connection, real relationships, they're experiencing something spiritual with God, with themselves. It's an incredible opportunity to grow attendance. All right, here's another one, groups. Groups is a part of engagement. And the best way to increase frequency of groups or frequency of engaging in circles is to reduce the friction by increasing some belonging. I mean, I know this for sure, and this is probably true about you. All pastors love groups. We preach about groups, we design groups, but in most churches, right, we accidentally make groups hard to join. Sometimes we have a long and complicated sign-up process. Maybe we have a list of groups, but there's just no context, so you end up joining something completely randomly. I mean, how many times have you randomly gotten a group with 5 other couples and all became best friends, right? It's pretty rare for that to happen. We don't offer a lot of relational guidance. Maybe we don't even offer clear pathways on how to do this. Like if joining a group feels like work, people aren't going to do it. Intentional churches, they remove all the friction points. They make registration really easy. They have immediate start opportunities too. Like intentional churches don't just offer groups in January. And then someone shows up in March and they go, man, we'd love for you to be in a group next January. I mean, that's not helpful, I mean, having a join a group today booth could be a great thing to add to your lobby. Or maybe you have some personal matchmaking help in this. Now, I don't mean like eHarmony, but when a person raises their hand and says they want to join a group, how can we come alongside them and help find a group for them that's a great fit for them rather than it just being random or based on a group leader biography, right? People, by the way, they don't just join groups because of announcements. They join because the pathway is simple and they feel supported. That's a great way to grow engagement through groups. All right, let's do number 3, serving. This is a big one, right? Development is what we're going to talk about here. This isn't about deployment, it's about development. Serving, and this is true for all of these areas, but serving is really closely connected to discipleship growth, right? But only when it is intentional. Like a cattle call of we need warm bodies, which you would never say, but that's kind of how we feel. We need volunteers. That's kind of accidental leadership recruitment. Recruiting people to fill holes, that's just accidental leadership. Handing someone a lanyard and just hoping for the best, that is not intentional leadership, right? Intentional leadership recruits to vision, not to vacancies. And the vision is about their growth and the growth of those they'll be serving, right? It really provides intentional leadership provides clear role descriptions. It pairs new volunteers with a mentor for at least the first month. It builds quarterly rally moments to reinforce the volunteer culture. Serving can explode when people feel equipped, not just used. So, how can you be more intentional about serving? Well, think of it a lot more as development, not just deployment to fill holes. Okay, 4, we got 2 more. Number 4, giving. How do we grow engagement in giving? Well, I'll tell you what, we start by treating it like formation. Okay, most churches talk about giving like it's a budget item, and there is a budget. There are numbers and needs and deadlines, all that's true. But giving grows when it's framed as spiritual formation, as an act of trust, a step of discipleship, a way of aligning your heart with God's mission. That's why intentional churches teach giving consistently, not apologetically, okay? Now, they do it in a way that's empathetic, but they're not apologizing for it. Like they normalize giving moments. They celebrate the impact of generosity. They make giving simple through QR codes and digital options and automating things that are important, creating easy ways for reoccurring gifts with very clear instructions, right? So, and by the way, intentional churches follow up with givers well. First-time givers, third or fourth-time givers, people who sign up for recurring giving, like we're clearly thanking people and following up with them. I mean, when people understand the why, generosity increases naturally. So we need to do a better job of intentionally connecting the why to the what. Following the dollar through the impact, talking about what's coming up, not just what has already happened, right? I've written about all of those things before, so that's not probably new for you, but adding more intentionality around why is going to help grow generosity. And here's our last one, inviting. We need to help people by equipping them to bring people, right? People don't just bring people naturally. We do teach and equip people to think of others. I mean, inviting is not a personality thing. Now, I do absolutely believe evangelism is a spiritual gift. Not all of us have it in the same way, but we all have the ability to invite people to something that we believe God could use to change their life. So inviting is not a personality thing. It's really more of a systems thing. I mean, if you wouldn't invite your neighbor this Sunday to your church, you should take that seriously. Like, you should make the environment every single time the door is open invite worthy. And you should provide tools for your people, attendance, graphics and blurbs and invite cards. I mean, all those kinds of things can help. And here's what it helps, right? It helps them think of others. That's the gap here. This isn't that if they just had an invite card, it would work. The invite card reminds them to invite. The graphic on their phone reminds them to invite. This is actually the number one reason that I asked everybody at Woodstock City to put our logo sticker on the back of their windshield. And it was so fun seeing thousands of these in our community, right, every day. And I would encourage people to drive poorly, because then people would say, well, anybody can go to that church. Look how bad this driver is, right? So, but that sticker on the back, you know what it did? Every time somebody got in and out of their car, they saw that sticker, and it was a reminder that church matters, that faith matters, and my neighbor should be here with me. You get out of the car at a restaurant, you see it, you're thinking of inviting the friend that you're meeting for lunch. So prompting people becomes really important. It's a part of being more strategic, intentional, right? You can also create strategic invite moments throughout the year. Now, I would suggest every Sunday should be an opportunity to invite somebody. You probably don't want to create a day that is really not great for a new guest. I mean, every day we should assume guests are in the room and design it with them in mind. However, we could also create very strategic moments. And I do not mean Bring a Friend Sunday, where we all wear red t-shirts and then the guest sticks out like a sore thumb. That's super embarrassing, okay? But what if we thought of like the Sunday before Halloween, and we made it a big fun day where kids could dress up in their not so scary costumes, right? We give candy away as a fun kind of insider trick-or-treating thing, and not trunk-or-treater like a weird fall festival where we're trying to replace Halloween. Not that. We're just doing something fun that day. You know, we did that at Woodstock City. We had not so scary Halloween, and we had, transit is what we called our middle school environment. Trick or transit. You know, we did all these things. All of our guest services and hospitality volunteers were dressed in fun things. It was some of our highest attended days of the year. Like it rivaled back to school Sundays and January Sundays because there was a fun reason to be there. You can do 4, 5, 6 of those a year and make it worth attending that day. Last thing, you can celebrate stories a lot. You know, when you celebrate the impact of your church, it makes people want to invite people to your church. I mean, I would suggest every week trying to celebrate something if you can, because celebration really is an activator for so many positive things, including invitations. So when inviting people becomes expected and when people feel equipped, the culture around invitations can change very, very quickly. So here's what I want you to hear very clearly about these 5 things, okay? You do not need more charisma or better vision language. You just need more intention around them. Engagement doesn't happen by accident. And by the way, your most engaged people are not always your most passionate people. Sometimes they're just the most supported people. And the more supported your people are, the more relieved you're going to feel because the more engaged they're going to be. Because listen, intentional systems always lower pastoral pressure. So here's your action step for this week. Just pick one area, okay? Attendance, groups, serving, giving, inviting, one of those 5 engagement spaces. Just pick one and find a way, right, to add more clarity, remove some friction, create more support. Just do that for one thing this week and see if engagement begins to feel a little more predictable, a little less pressure packed. Now, last thing, if you want to build systems, like the kinds we're talking about, the kinds that can fuel things like generosity, for instance, I'd love to help you do that. In January, beginning in early January, I am launching something called the funding funnel that funds your church. This is a funding framework that I've been teaching for about 4 years. Hundreds of churches have implemented it, and the success has been phenomenal. And I'm not, that's not opinion. I mean, I've talked to so many churches that have had 20 and 30% increases in generosity year over year because of an intentional framework. So go to gavinadams.com, look under the insights, and look for the Leadership Lab. This is the next Leadership Lab, the funding funnel that funds your church. It's 5 sessions, right? It's a Leadership Lab, 5 sessions where we're going to help you build a 12-month generosity strategy that can fund your mission with confidence. Again, go to gavinadams.com to learn more about that. But listen, whether you join that or not, okay, I just want to encourage you to lead with more intention because intentionality is what's going to lower the pressure and increase your potential every single time.